Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. I'm your host, Roger Knecht, president of Universal Accounting Center, and this is a podcast dedicated to individuals like you who are in the process of actually offering quality accounting services and getting paid what you're worth. It's here on the show. Each and every week, we bring on the experts to share with us insights of things that we can be doing to work on our business, to better service our clients, to offer quality accounting services. It's here that we're going to address topics ranging from marketing, selling, pricing, tech stacks, managing our staff, working with them, tech stacks as it relates to the different technologies that exist, also as well, mental health, just a variety of things that we need to consider to have the premier accounting firm in our area. I'm excited to have on the show today, Dr. Ruth Mannschreck. She happens to be a very successful doctor who has a program now called Built to Run Itself. It's a virtual training designed to actually help individuals run their businesses successfully. And it comes from after having had everything changed with her life when her daughter was born, having complications and spending weeks in the NICU. She had this life-altering experience that led her to reduce her practice hours from 40 to 25 hours per week. And despite the drastic change, the practice exceeded its previous revenue while allowing her to actually be present with her family during this difficult time. This shift in perspective led her to create this streamlined business model that focuses on strong systems, building a high-performing team, and fostering a magnetic company culture. She shares these strategies with small business owners to help them free up their time and scale their operations efficiently. When she's not coaching and mentoring small business owners, Dr. Ruth can be found engrossed in a good book, walking her two dogs, taste testing new wines, and paddleboarding around lakes in northern Michigan. So, Ruth, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Roger. It's so good to be here.
This is going to be an excellent conversation. I'm already aware of a number of things that really intrigue me. What I'd like to do is obviously kind of set the stage for the stress that was around your birth of the daughter, dealing with the NICU unexpectedly. There's a lot of stresses that come into people's lives that oftentimes are unexpected, but these stresses cause us to do as you did, change. We have to actually, as entrepreneurs, be able to adapt. And in doing so, I think those needs are perhaps the necessities that bring about inventions and creativities. And that was clearly what took place with you. But kind of set the stage for us as it relates to what was that challenge and how were you able to adapt to it?
The challenge was that my husband and I both have full-time careers at that point. And in order to get my daughter to 8 doctors every week for years, it wasn't like a quick flash in the pan that we'd go back to normal hours. It was just, it had to happen. And most of the clients I work with don't need 15 to 20 hours back in their week, but getting 5 to 10 hours back in their week would be amazing. And I honestly didn't even think about coaching on this until right after we had shifted and we were in the office 2.5 days a week. I ran into my colleague who was in the next suite to me. And he said, "Ruth, what are you doing? You're never here, but your practice is still good. Like if you can't." And I taught him the systems and all the things that we did to scale down. And he became my first client. And I got to thinking, people don't need probably to take that many hours off, but I could help them get 5 hours. What if everybody got home in time for dinner and didn't have to go back into the office to do paperwork or something? What a gift that would be. So that's my mission, is to get more people out of their office if that's what they want. Some people just want to run their office more efficiently. But I'd like to get people out of their office and back into their lives and have their practice support their life instead of the other way around.
Oh, I love how you just said that. Yeah, we're actually working right now with a client of my own who is dealing with this same situation. And ultimately, it really came down to one thing: permission. He didn't feel he had the permission as the entrepreneur, as the leader of his company, to actually leave before others. And so he was missing out on family dinners and so forth. And it really just came down to him and some of his peers understanding that this is something that was important to him, something he needed to do, and just giving him the permission opened up that opportunity for him to actually now make a commitment to his spouse and to his employees and say, you know what, I need to be home for dinner. And now everyone's helping him get home
Mm-hmm.
for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
It's the spouse being insistent on, I'll have dinner ready. It's the coworker saying, you need to get out of the
Mm-hmm.
office now. It's time to go home. You're needed home. It's the children expecting him. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden what's happening is he doesn't feel the guilt that he was
Right.
feeling earlier because he associated being in the office to making money. He
Mm-hmm.
felt that being in the office was how money was made. And ultimately what it turned into is he realized he had a team of individuals now that he could rely upon, and they were doing revenue producing activities, and he could walk away.
Sure.
So he'd built up a company that he, afforded him this opportunity. So
Mm-hmm.
let's go back to your story though. As it relates to your situation, clearly these challenges arise in everyone's lives. Sooner or
Mm-hmm.
later, something unexpected occurs. You needed to find time, although being an entrepreneur, to actually now devote to your daughter
Mm-hmm.
the attention she needed. And you figured out how to do this. But the thing that I like to really kind of hone in on is the fact that you also found out how to now share it with others. And your first client was obviously this other individual that you were able to now say, well, there is a process that I've figured out, and this is what it is. So I know you have a 5-part framework. Can you
Mm-hmm.
begin by walking us through these stages, first by what they are, and then let's go into each of them individually?
Sure. And I want to back up just one little step, because
Please.
it wasn't Dr. Ruth was brilliant and figured this all out. I went to my team and said, it's got to go. We have to do this. It's
Yes.
non-negotiable. This is what has to happen. So what do you think? And I over and over, I encourage people to reach out to your team and utilize their perspective. All of our staff members have a totally different perspective on our clients, on our patients, on our vendors. Everyone, it's a different perspective, and they know things that we don't. And the sooner we reach out and include them and respect their brain power and their creativity, I couldn't have done it without the perspective that my team brought to me and said, but from our point of view, it looks like you're doing this. It's a whole different, saved us hours and hours of mistakes because we brainstormed together. So I don't want anyone to get the wrong impression that Dr. Ruth figured this all out on her own. No, this was a team effort, and we did. We came up with different areas, 5 different areas in your practice to take a look at, because that's what made it work for us.
I'm really grateful you figured this out, because one of the things that I'm wanting to emphasize that you're sharing here is it's not top-down management. It's
Yeah.
collaborative. And one of the things that you're emphasizing is the answers are actually in the group. They
Yep.
know the job. And I think one of the things that's very important here is the loyalty and the commitment that they have to the organization and to you to help address the situation. They're willing to step up. I just recently had a conversation with a similar individual who had a death in the family. It was a parent who had passed, and
Mm.
it was a family farm. They had to step away from the business for 3 months. That was the initial
Wow.
thing. I have to go away for 3 months to deal with some family matters
Mhm.
and get the farm taken care of. Well, her staff stepped up and were able to step in her absence, take care of everything. And then when it was 3 months, they said, you know what? Unfortunately, we're not ready to come back. I can't come back yet. And they still were able to step in and fill in those
Wow.
gaps. So this is
Yeah.
a great conversation, and it
Mhm.
shows how you just said it's not you figuring it out. It's a collaborative thing
It
within your
was
office.
very much so.
So let's go to the first thing that you identified then.
The first piece that we worked on was to have systems, to streamline systems. And I encourage all practices, no matter what your profession, to start with what I call your client journey. So from the very first phone call, that when someone comes, they might be shopping, but they could turn into a potential client. From that first phone call, what has to happen? And most importantly, what's the emotion that you want to create in the person on the other end of the phone? Then the next step is probably scheduling. And then there's treatment planning or deciding what's needed. There's service delivery, there's execution, and then there's follow-up. And all of those pieces in the process, we all have it. We all do it. But we might not have intentionally documented everything. And documenting doesn't mean writing it down. That would drive me crazy. But videos are wonderful for SOPs for every step along the way. And I want it to include the communication. I call it the handoff from one step to the next. It's
Beautiful.
not just pointing them down the hall and say, go to the front desk, Mary will take care of you. it's walking the patient down the hall to Mary and introducing who is Mary and what's her role. And this is the patient. And just that warm handoff can make a world of difference. So the first step is to get your systems all spread out, all systems. How do you collect on old receivables? How do you reach out and reactivate accounts? All those things, break them down into step by step by step. And the second piece is build in the communication, the handoff from one piece to the next. And where do you document all those things? What software, what technology, how will, I, I often say, if you get hit by a truck, where will people find the next step? How can this be, no matter who's sitting in the chair, it just keeps on going. They don't need to talk to Mary because it's all there in the computer or wherever.
Yeah, I can't emphasize enough what you're sharing as to how important it is. There's a few
Yeah.
reasons why I think this is relevant. One, I think a lot of what we actually do, both us and our employees, it's in our heads. It's through experience.
Mhm.
It's through the
Yeah.
expertise that we've acquired over time. And we just assume it's natural, but it's not. It's not
Mhm.
obvious. And so what we have to do is actually encourage this to be written down. And cross training is a great way to get that documented, simply
Mhm.
because somebody else is going to say, show me how, tell me how, what
Yeah.
is it you're doing? And through that cross training, a lot can be recorded. But the standard operating procedures that you're emphasizing here, I think you said something very important at the beginning of it. It's the ideal scenario. What is the journey that you expect the customer to experience? And maybe there's exceptions along the way, but can you actually put up on a board the experience in detail to say,
Mhm.
if then statements, they start here, what happens? This or this, this or this.
Right.
And all of a sudden, as you go through this journey, you're going to identify, as you indicated, those transitions, when it's going to be handed off from one person to
Mhm.
another. And I just experienced it literally today with one of my own employees. They were sharing with me some of the conversations that they had with one of our customers. And they were sharing actually quite a bit of information as it related to this customer's personal experience, some of the things that they were dealing with personally that were relevant to us. And as they were sharing all this, it was a phenomenal story of this customer. I had one question: is this in the notes? Because months from now, I'm going to look at this customer and I'm going to go into the notes and I'm going to read in the notes what I need to know about this individual,
Yeah.
and it's not there. And all of a sudden, I said, is this in the information in the notes? And she had to volunteer. No, I've not put it there.
Mhm.
I don't read minds. I can't 3 months
Yeah.
from now not only not remember this conversation, but I'm going to look in the notes and not see any of this. So I
Yeah.
think this is a great example of what you're explaining, which is one, what is that journey and what are the operating procedures to facilitate it? Are they
Right.
documented? And then as you're having the handoffs, we just can't presume everyone's reading minds. We have to introduce the customer to the next individual. This is who you're going to be working with
Mhm.
next. This is why this individual is important to your success with us.
Right.
And in that transfer of info, or in that handoff, transfer the relevant information so that they can pick up the ball and start running, rather than having to
Mhm.
ask the customer a whole bunch of questions that they've
Yeah.
already answered.
Yeah, exactly. Um, when I say that, our second step is communication,
Mhm.
many times offices are worried that, oh, we're going to have meetings. And I want to say, I am not a fan of meetings. You do need some. And so, for example, in our dental office, there would be what I call a morning huddle, but it's a standing morning huddle that makes sure it's only about 10 minutes long. Can bring us up to date on what's the schedule look like today? Is all the lab work here? Do we have holes that need to be filled? Are there anxious people that are going to need a little more TLC? And if the rest of the staff knew about it, we could come and help. We have a lot of anxious people that come. And so we look at today's schedule and then we look at tomorrow's schedule. Is everything set up? Is there something so that when the day comes, everybody is clicking, everything's ready to go. We've already checked everything in. There's less that can fall off the table and hit the floor because we've looked at it twice now. Every day we see it again. So I like to keep things up to date. I do not like to have lots and lots of long, boring meetings. So communication, but not so much meetings.
Get your copy of Red to Black,
It is the book written for accounting professionals to help businesses turn around and go from being in the red to being in the black. This book is written for consultants, business owners, operators, and managers. No matter what your client's product or service, or irrespective of your talent, skill, or expertise, as an accounting professional, you'll be able to use the principles presented in this book to actually become, for your clients, the profit and growth expert. Every chapter is filled with principles and concepts that you can use immediately with your clients to lead them from being in the red to being more profitable in their business, and see you as, in fact, their guide, their coach, with the expertise and wisdom that you can bring from this book. In the book, you have how-to guide explanations. You have models that you can follow. You're shown how to actually calculate and determine the fees for your services, the actual model that you'll use during the implementation of all this, and most importantly, the end-all results with your clients. Get this book now and see what it is you can do to offer this new revenue-producing service as, in fact, the profit and growth expert. For more information on how you can take advantage of this offer, go to the episode description and there get the information you need to take advantage of this today. So we've got here the SOPs, we've got that customer experience, the ideal, we've got the handoff, the communication that's going on. Is that number one and number two?
Right. Yes. So systems and communication. Right. Do you have your team? Do you have a team that, given the right system and the right support in your culture, can run your systems without constantly coming to you to ask questions? If they can't make decisions, if they can't move forward without stopping by your office to ask a question, you've missed a big piece there. So, um, and I we tell people when they come into our practice, we say, you're a wonderful person today, but by the time you're done working in our office, you're going to be a completely different person. Our goal is to grow you into the best human we can while you're under our roof. Our commitment is to grow you professionally, to grow you as a person. So no matter when you end up leaving our flock, so to speak, you're going to be a much better human than you were when you walked in. So anticipate change.
So what you're describing there is what I would determine as culture. It's that culture that they're going to experience while working with you. As you describe the people, obviously you want to have the right people. There's the old analogy that's now repeated often of the right people in the right bus, but
Yes.
also in the right seats, kind of a thing.
Mhm.
Well, what you're talking about here is they have their talents, they have their experience, they have their expertise, and we want to make sure we're properly leveraging the right people in the right roles. Well, that being considered, you're talking now also about a culture of change that you're expecting them to improve both personally and professionally. And I am curious, after working with you, I'm just wondering, what is it that you're hoping they will experience to become better humans? Is it accountability? Is it the fact that they were trained in new skills? What do you feel that your culture is offering so that they can go back out into society as a better human being?
It totally depends on the person. So we have, of course, we're going to take, for example, our chairside assistants. When they come into the practice, they might not be certified. They might not know how to make temporaries. They might not know how to make crowns on a CAD/CAM machine. They will by the time they get done. But also, think about young people today. They might not own a home. They might not know how to prepare for that. Some of them don't even know how to balance their checkbook. So I say we're going to focus on professional improvement, and we're also going to focus on just personal development. Many of them have never looked at the world from a leadership point of view. We have a culture of everyone is a leader here, right where you are. You don't need a special title. You don't need to be paid big bucks. Wherever you are, we're going to help you be a better leader. And those skills transfer 100% out into the real world when they leave my office. But that starts way back in the hiring process. So just to touch on the team one more time, we go into depth on how to hire, because sometimes we wait too long to start hiring until we're like desperate. I need someone who can fog a mirror and but they have this hard skill that I need. Like they can do bookkeeping or they can do data entry or whatever you're looking for. If they can do that, I'll put up with an annoying personality. That gets us into trouble so many times. So I encourage our clients to focus on soft skills first. Like use soft skills. Do they understand teamwork? Are they empathetic? Are they compassionate? Are they supportive? Those roles are the things that people get fired for most often. We hire quickly because we need a hard skill, but we end up firing so slow, but it's because of a soft skill. They can't get along with the rest of the team, or they're not nice when they talk to our clients. Those things that we try to nip in the bud before they ever set foot in the office, which is drastically different than what Indeed or any of the job boards want you to do.
I'm so grateful you're bringing this up because you are right. Oftentimes, I'm not parting ways or letting someone go because they don't have the skill to do the job. Unfortunately, it's the soft skills. It's
Yeah,
really they are poor communicators. They come with drama. They don't have the discipline or the work ethic to be dependable in the sense that they're there every day. There's all these idiosyncrasies that are outside of the skill to do the job.
right.
It's just I hate to say it, but they're not the greatest people. And at the end of the day, they don't make a
Mhm.
good match for not only our company, but they don't represent us well. So at the end, it's not because they couldn't do the job. They were just a horrible match to our company and so
Exactly.
forth. So I do agree
Right.
with that. Yeah. So definitely good advice as it relates to interviewing and hiring the right people. But I also
Mhm.
appreciated the fact that you pointed out you don't want to be in a state of desperation to take
Right.
anyone. That fog the mirror example is a good
Yeah.
illustration of that because
Yep.
so often in hiring, it isn't because I'm proactively, strategically, here's the next
Mhm.
person I need to actually fill. Here's the role that I'd like to actually develop. It's no, we're overwhelmed. We're behind. We need somebody yesterday. We're going to take anyone that's available that can do this now. Oh, you can do this? Great. You got the job. And I think your approach there is, I think, something we ought to consider greatly as we're trying to find the right people for the right job.
Exactly. And it's just it just saves us because having someone in your onboarding system or in your training, your promotional or your probationary time is expensive because
Hmm.
all that money goes down the drain. The longer they stay, the more they cost you.
Yep.
So, from a financial point of view, you really need to start with looking at soft skills because that's the most expensive part of your mistake. Hardly ever is hard skills get us. Every now and then somebody might slip by that doesn't know what they're talking about, but hardly ever. Most of the time, it's the human that's attached to those skills,
Yep.
drives us crazy and
Yep.
drives our team crazy. And
Oh, yes.
so,
No, well said. All right, so we've got now 3 things. We've got the system, our
right?
SOPs. We've got obviously the handoff communications,
Communication,
and
right?
then the third is the right people. So what's number
Right.
4?
Number four is your culture. Um, what I see in offices when I go in practices is they have 4 or 5 core values that they put on a plaque and stick it up on the wall, and no one speaks of those words ever again. They're always big words. They're not nouns. They're just things. They're things we think we ought to have. We think we ought to aspire to these things. And what I encourage practices to do is take those core values, make them tangible, make them things you can see, behaviors that you can see. So we take their core values and we turn them into behaviors. What does it look like when I'm being authentic or when I'm acting in integrity? What does that look like to our clients, to our patients, to our other team members, to me as the owner? What does it look like when I'm acting in excellence or quality of service or whatever our core values are? What do those look like? I had one client who, in order to really drill this home, started a contest. They came up with like 30 different behaviors that demonstrated their core values. They had 5 core values. They turned them into 30 different behaviors. And they had a contest that was each team member was to catch another team member in the act of role modeling their core values in those behaviors. So they got to call each other out. doing things the right way. And it helps the team focus on these behaviors. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is expected. This is how best I serve my client. And I want to be observant of that all the time, because sometimes we talk about core values once and never again. And even behaviors, you can talk about them once and never again. Humans need to be reminded so many times. So I encourage people to, every time you have a team meeting, to talk about your core values, to talk about what that looks like as a behavior. And as the owner, as the doc, as the professional, you need to be role modeling those for everyone. You need to walk the talk. So that's a huge piece of building the culture.
Well, one of the things that I'd like to add to this is just recently I was looking at our own mission statement. And you're
Mhm.
right. There is something to be said for having written it and then living it, or having the employees embrace it and apply it. Because when we did ours, and this is years ago, we actually wrote out what we felt was our mission
Mhm.
statement and core values. And then we literally set it aside for a year. And what we wanted to do is come back a year later and see in the
Oh.
operations of the business
Mhm.
for a year, did we just naturally exhibit what we had written down? Did it
Mhm.
come naturally for who we were? And all of a sudden, when we pulled it out, we realized, we actually didn't do this, but we do it this way. And we were able to adapt it slightly so that it actually emulated who we truly are at our core.
Mhm.
And then it's written down. And it's not so much that we're aspiring to it, it's the fact that when we're hiring individuals, we can describe who we are in a concise
Yeah.
way so that they can identify whether or not this is an organization they want to be a part of. So I agree with you. It's not something that once it's posted, everyone's reading and memorizing and
No.
quoting every day, but it does need to be naturally part of what that
Right.
organization just does and how they kind of interact with one another and how they service their clientele. If that's a natural extension of what you do, then to write it down so that others can understand who
Mhm.
you are is a great way of basically screening out people at the very beginning, or saying here at the start, this is what we're going to
Right.
expect of you because this is what we're already doing anyway. So that's my story to kind of add to the
Yeah.
culture that you were describing there. Learn the turnkey process for starting and building a successful accounting business. It's in this course that you'll actually experience 4 specific trainings. Part 1, your business plan, everything you need to know to get started. Part 2, how to price your services, the pros and cons of different methods, and the best way to price your services that are both profitable and professional. Marketing and selling your services so that you can actually be top of mind, but more importantly, how to actually be seen as a trusted strategic advisor. And last of all, mapping it all out. 5 principles in running a profitable business so that you can be both competent and confident in the services you're providing. Learn now what it is you can be doing to start and build your own successful accounting, bookkeeping, or tax business. Go to the episode description and there get the information you need to take advantage of this today. So we've got now systems, the SOPs, that journey that we're talking about.
Mhm.
We're talking about the handoff communications as it relates to how you're actually communicating in the organization. We've got down right people. And then with that, the culture that you have in the office. What's number
Mhm.
5?
Number 5 is the leadership that you bring to the table. When I was in my impressionable early stages, I learned that leadership is a top down kind of, I'm the leader because I'm your boss and I know more than you do. So I'm going to tell you what to do. Well, all my kids are millennials, and I'm just going to tell you, they don't want any part of that. They are not interested in top down kind of leadership. They are very interested in leadership, but it's more of a leading with us, leading behind us, in front of us, however you want to do it, but it's not a top down. Top down always comes with, this is what I want you to do. And when you tell people you got to do it this way, you ask them to set aside their creativity. You ask them to stop thinking, just do what I said, because I know it'll work. And I know that's gotten us through a lot of years of running businesses, but that's not what today's kids are actually interested in. And you miss all that creativity when you come in and say, all right, this is what I want. So you have to paint a very vivid picture of the outcome that you want. You can't just say, do it any way you want to. For example, if I say, I want you to sterilize these instruments, and when you get done, it has to look just like this. If they don't make it just like this, somebody could die in my office. So it matters a lot to me how they get there, but I don't present it that way. This is the end result. You get there. Here are parameters that you have to use. Here are guardrails. Show me what you would do. They loved it. And if sometimes, many times, they'll come to the conclusion that my way, which I didn't tell them, was the best way to do it. But the fact that I trusted them to use their brain power and that I asked for their opinion, that does so much for someone's self-esteem and their the way they're going to be loyal to the practice. Oh, such a great thing to do for a person, to actually ask them to use their brain. Something we overlook so much in the professional world, because I know exactly what you need to do, but that's not helpful from a leadership point of view.
So I'm going to add a few things here. One, I'm
Yeah.
a huge proponent of not micromanaging. So
Hmm.
getting out of the details of it all, I trust that they can figure that out. The thing that I'd like to add to what you're sharing here is that there are a variety of different management styles, leadership
Hmm.
qualities, and so forth. And we each need to find our own. But the thing that I've really found over the years that's helpful in my situation is the reason for something, not just to simply say, here's what needs to be done and here's how to do it, but to add to it the why, the because. And
Hmm.
when the person can understand how what they're doing matters or fits into the big scheme, they all of a sudden realize, okay, this is why I do what I do this way. And all of a sudden it gives a little bit more importance, or it helps it matter a little bit more. So that little addition of, and here's how it fits into the big scheme of things. Here's how it actually
Hmm.
matters. Here's what it actually does as it relates to the entire big picture. All of a sudden they start to see that what they do has
Hmm.
context. And
Hmm.
now they actually appreciate what they're doing because they can see why it's relevant. So anyways, just something more to add
Yeah.
to this idea of leadership. But interestingly enough, there are different leadership styles, just like there are
Hmm.
different parenting styles and so forth. You're describing, I don't think necessarily the best or right way, but you're describing a way and one for someone to
Sure.
consider. Is this something that I could actually use that might actually help with the millennials that I'm dealing with or something?
Hmm.
Giving them the parameters to figure out the how. I just need this in the end. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Very good. Very good. So those are the 5 things we focus on.
Hmm.
I've got a question for you. Where do you find that entrepreneurs, business owners of the 5 struggle most? What is it that they push back on or maybe fail to implement as easily as you think they should?
I would say they have the biggest challenges in the team portion.
Mm,
They may be resistant to actually being intentional about having one system that the entire office does. This one system, that's difficult for some. Um, but changing the way you hire people, because so many people, coaches or clients that I coach with, um, their hiring process is more like a series of interview questions. That's it. One interview followed by another interview followed by another. And and I like for people to get out of the box. Like, let's have some role playing. Let's do some exercises. Let's do some assessments. Do something different. Put your candidates in a different situation and dig deeper into those soft skills that we talked about. Because surface people are so good at being disingenuous in the interview process. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but um,
unfortunately, very true. Yes.
oh
Well,
yeah,
everybody puts their best foot forward.
I
And in
know.
fact, they embellish. So there you go.
Yes. So that's where I see the biggest challenges, and it takes the longest to change how they hire and where they look to find the right people
Hmm.
um, to work in their practice.
I appreciate you pointing that out because I would agree that is something that I've continued to struggle with. It's interesting. We've hired so far this year 5 individuals, of which only 2 remain. So
Ugh.
it's still something that we struggle with, and
Mhm.
it's a mutual thing. I'm sure partly
Yeah.
it's their fault and ours, but at the same time, we're still trying to grow, and in that growth, I'm expecting we'll still deal with this very issue,
Yeah.
but hopefully we'll get better
Mhm.
and better and better at
And
it
we
over
do.
time.
We do. We
Yes,
learn. We do.
yes. All right. So I've got another topic here. I know
Hmm.
you are a time person like I am. I know you're someone that appreciates time as it relates to it's a finite thing and we've got to manage it well. I'm very big into time management as it relates to blocking. And I'm curious,
Hmm.
what are your thoughts as it relates to what else we should be focusing on rather than time?
So people come to me initially because they work too many hours.
Hmm.
And then they take a time management class and they learn all these great little hacks that work. Different hacks work for different people.
Hmm.
And yet they still find themselves working too many hours. So it's not that you need another time management hack per se. Um, you need to distance yourself from the day-to-day running of your practice to set up something that runs all by itself. Yes, you can learn time management if you like. I'm a big blocking person. I love doing that. Um, but it doesn't matter if there's still a line outside your door of people asking questions, asking you to put out fires. You have to do both things. Have a way to manage your time, but first, get your practice, your house in order so that it's self propelled. So they leave you alone long enough to focus your time on what you feel is important to you.
Oh, I'm loving this. This is wonderful. I did not know what to expect as you answered that. And I'm going to really kind of compliment this because you're right. Time management, that's just part of the battle. One of the things that you have to
Yeah.
do is live life with intent. You have to be purposeful in what you're doing. So time management doesn't matter if you've got the wrong priorities. And then the other thing is you have to be willing to delegate. Once you get out
Yeah.
of this mindset of it doesn't always have to be you, it's not about you, all of a sudden you can actually through delegation free up time, and it wasn't even managing your time, it's just literally the fact that you let go.
Yes.
So I think that's
Hmm.
a really good important part of this. Time management isn't trying to figure out how to still do everything. It's
Right.
now recognizing that you can let go of certain things, and maybe your time will just free up for the very simple fact that you're not doing it anymore.
Hmm. The other thing that you mentioned earlier that really identified with is the idea that, oh, I'm always going to have to work too many hours. I can't tell you how many business owners have stepped up to me and said, "What do you mean I shouldn't work so many hours? I have to work so many hours." Like they don't have the mindset. They have an expectation, which means that at least here in the States, we've decided that being busy means we're important. It's like you get the red badge of courage because you're too busy, you're too in demand, you're too this, you're too that. And that means you're important. And I'm sorry that we got to that part. I'm sorry that our society has said, wow, he's busy. He must be good, you know?
Well, I'm going to say I've got that badge and I think I've won it 3 times over. So I like that badge. I wear it proudly. But
I
the point
know.
to your point, I am going to say that does not define success. I
Right.
think it is something that is um, kind of it draws individuals. Our culture is such that if you're
Yeah.
busy, you're perhaps successful. If I see someone busy, you're right. I think that is in many ways a way of someone defining, oh, they must be a successful individual. I
Right.
think you're right to point out that I think we've misunderstood what time is. There's a lot of people out there that are very happy and very content and they're not busy. So you can definitely aspire to be
Hmm.
happy and content and not be busy. And I think that's a good thing.
Right.
But so much of someone's identity, oftentimes in our culture, is associated with what they are
Yeah.
doing. And so, because of that, we find, and I can be guilty of this in my past, it's basically how you assess yourself and how you maybe see
Hmm.
others. And it's in that perception that you're actually maybe judging and so forth. We've got to get away from that because
Yeah.
obviously, from a success point of view, there's so many other ways to consider what someone
Hmm.
is to be happy and successful and so forth. So I appreciate you
Right.
pointing this out. So here's what I'm going to do. Ruth, I'm going to take and wrap a few of these things up only because of the fact that I think we've had a wonderful conversation. And I'm going to come back to you for a closing thought. And as I do this, one of the things I'd like to point out to our listeners is Ruth does have a special offer here that I'd like you to take advantage of. You can get access to the Self-Propelled Business Framework by going to the episode description and seeing there what it is that she is providing. It's at her website, workfewerhours.com. And obviously, it's something that I would encourage you and invite you to take advantage of to see what it is you could be doing to work on your business as it relates to these things that we've been discussing today. Now, in addition to this, I want to invite you to actually sign up for the Accountrepreneurs Challenge. The Accountrepreneurs Challenge is exactly designed to help you work on both your personal and professional elements of your business. Personal, it's going to actually address the very first thing, coincidentally, is time management. It's going to introduce you to a variety of things that you can do to not just better manage your time, be more intentional about what it is you're doing, but as we were discussing earlier, help you actually let go of some things and delegate them, prioritize them better, help you actually take control and live with more intent. And I believe that you'll actually find the peace of mind that comes from that is something that you are needing as you're leading your organization. Now, with regards to the Accountrepreneurs Challenge, it is something that comes out as a 90-day challenge, helping you each week work on a variety of things, personally and professionally. It's intended to actually give you an exercise each week. One may be 5-10 minutes. Another one might be an hour or so in length. But the point is over the next 90 days, you'll have an opportunity to work on a variety of things as it relates to building the premier accounting firm. You can go to universalaccounting.com/podcast to actually get access to the Accountrepreneurs Challenge for free. These next 90 days will be transformational. In addition to that, one of the things that I'd like to do is kind of summarize everything that we've been discussing. I really appreciate that Ruth was able to share with us these 5 things that I believe all of us need to step back and consider as it relates to our business, and perhaps do an assessment as to each of them. Are we A plus? Are we struggling in this area? Out of a scale of 1 to 10, is this a 10 or is it a 5? Is it a 0? I think we need to assess all 5. Obviously, it's those systems as it relates to the customer's journey, the standard operating procedures that we have within our organization. That system is something that we need to document and record and make sure it's something that someone can easily follow. Cross-training individuals as to helping them understand that in the absence of someone, it still will get done. The second thing, obviously, was communications. We're talking about the handoff and things that were related to how often we're meeting and so forth. It's just making sure that within the organization, communication is happening. I think that's a very essential part of the organization. It's the right people, making sure that we're not just working with individuals who have the skills, but they've got the right temperament and abilities. And that brings us to the culture. What is it that we're actually attributing the attributes, those defining characteristics of our company? What are those things that we're defining as our mission statement? Is it something that we naturally embody within the organization? Those things are, I think, very helpful. And then the last thing, obviously, that of leadership. I thought she was very wise to point out that one of the things that we need to understand is it's not so much how to do the job, it's what's the desired outcome. Are we working towards that? And with that desired outcome, I volunteered and suggested that we also are helpful in pointing out how it relates to the bigger picture. What's the because or why it's actually relevant? If we can actually answer that, they'll actually feel as if they're part of a bigger cause or something bigger. They'll have some purpose. And I think that was very important. So those are the 5 things. I thought it was an excellent conversation as it related to those. And then we ended with this idea of time management. It's not just being more effective in managing our time, but being able to actually understand and prioritize better, more importantly, delegate. It's just essentially understanding that it's okay if we're doing nothing. And I thought that was really helpful, especially coming from my perspective of, yes, I do like to be busy. So all that being said, Dr. Ruth, what would you like to end with?
I would encourage people to think about the things we talked about today and start soon. Start earlier than you think you need to get things accomplished in your practice, and brainstorm with your team. Include your team in this process. I think you'll be impressed with the information and the perspective that they bring to the conversation.
I love that. Well, Dr. Ruth, thank you for being on the show. I really appreciated your insights and perspectives and the advice that you shared as to how it is that we can be working on our business. For my listeners, if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast. We'd love to have you each and every week here to hear from the experts what it is we can be doing to work on our business, work on ourselves, improve those individuals that we're not only working with, but for, and at the same time, provide quality accounting services. So subscribe to the podcast on whichever platform you prefer. And I look forward to having you join us and hearing our next episode each and every week. With that being said, I also want to invite you to GrowCon. GrowCon is an annual conference for owners of bookkeeping, accounting, and tax businesses. As a conference, it's here that we get together to really hear from the experts, let them come to the stage and share with us the insights of things that we need to consider for the next 12 months as it relates to our business. In addition to hearing from the experts, we get to interact and meet and visit with our peers. It's the other individuals like ourselves who are likewise out there growing their businesses. And it's here that not only do we build great friendships and connections, but we oftentimes even find opportunities to collaborate and better service our clients. So I invite you to come and join us. If you haven't already, go to universalaccounting.com, and there in the navigation, you'll see information regarding GrowCon. Get your ticket today. Come and join us. And more importantly, I get to see you. I'd like to actually meet you, get to know you, and more importantly, help you be in business for yourself, but not by yourself with Universal. So join us for GrowCon. As it relates to this podcast, obviously, if you'd like more information regarding the discussions we've had, the services that we offer as you're going out and offering quality accounting services, feel free to visit us by going to universalaccountingschool.com or calling us at 801-265-3777. And with that in mind, have a wonderful day and be safe out there. And always remember this, if it's about accounting, it is universal. Take care.